Kentucky's Voice is your home for real news, real people, and real answers. But we can't do it without you. Your financial support helps us bring truth to the forefront, hold leaders accountable, and give a voice to the people of the Commonwealth. Join the fight today. Give online at kyvoice.org or text KYVoice to 53555. Every gift makes a difference. Stand with us. Speak up. Stay strong. You are Kentucky's voice.
Are you ready to stand for truth? Kentucky is at a crossroads, and we need voices that won't back down. This is your moment to rise, speak up, and be part of a movement that's changing the narrative in the Commonwealth. Kentucky's Voice is calling on bold citizen journalists, fearless editors, and those unafraid to speak truth in the public square. Volunteer, intern, contribute. Scan the QR code or visit kyvoice.org to join the fight. This is more than media. This is your moment. You are Kentucky's voice.
Open borders, shameful abandonment, disregard for human life, the prospect of more mandates and lockdowns, and the list goes on. Now more than ever, we need to stick together. Voting alone is not enough. We must use our dollars to support like-minded companies that fight for our rights and beliefs. Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider who shares your values. Last year, we gave more than $500,000 to conservative causes. With your support, we'll give more than $1.5 million this year. It's time to band together and support companies that truly love America and fight for our freedoms. Will you join us?
Kentucky's Voice is your home for real news, real people, and real answers. But we can't do it without you. Your financial support helps us bring truth to the forefront, hold leaders accountable, and give a voice to the people of the Commonwealth. Join the fight today. Give online at kyvoice.org or text KYVoice to 53555. Every gift makes a difference. Stand with us. Speak up. Stay strong. You are Kentucky's voice.
Are you ready to stand for truth? Kentucky is at a crossroads, and we need voices that won't back down. This is your moment to rise, speak up, and be part of a movement that's changing the narrative in the Commonwealth. Kentucky's Voice is calling on bold citizen journalists, fearless editors, and those unafraid to speak truth in the public square. Volunteer, intern, contribute. Scan the QR code or visit kyvoice.org to join the fight. This is more than media. This is your moment. You are Kentucky's voice.
Open borders, shameful abandonment, disregard for human life, the prospect of more mandates and lockdowns, and the list goes on. Now more than ever, we need to stick together. Voting alone is not enough. We must use our dollars to support like-minded companies that fight for our rights and beliefs. Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider who shares your values. Last year, we gave more than $500,000 to conservative causes. With your support, we'll give more than $1.5 million this year. It's time to band together and support companies that truly love America and fight for our freedoms. Will you join us?
Kentucky's Voice Radio, covering the latest state and local issues with Tom Fallbush, Bob Scott, and Jim Waters.
And welcome into this Friday edition of Kentucky's Voice. Glad to have you with us today. I'm Jim Waters, and I'm joined by two of our great co-hosts here, Diana Starr and Vladimir Aguilar. This is going to be a great show, guys, today. And most of all, it's going to be great because you're with us today. You're hearing this live on the radio, 970 WGTK, but you can see us, and we're some good-looking folk here today. I mean, let me tell you.
Good morning, Jim.
Yes, at 4 o'clock on WBNA Channel 21. Kentucky's Voice text line, 502-571-0970. They're already rolling in today. Got a lot on your mind, and we're going to try to get to some of those during the show, maybe later on today. But again, 502-571-0970. We want to hear what you think about what we're talking about today, or if you have something else on your mind. We'll try to get that in. All of that today before the show. We've got some great guests today coming up on our show. But first of all, the polls for the 2028 Democratic presidential primary show Pete Buttigieg and former Vice President Kamala Harris are leading. They're the front runners. Of course, it's very early, isn't it? With Buttigieg polling between 16 and 31%, Harris at 13 to 37. Here we go. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and California Governor Gavin Newsom also rank highly, polling up to 19 and 16% respectively. Former vice presidential candidate Tim Walz only at 3 to 9% support. Now, Andy Beshear has not officially announced he's running, but he, of course, that's the buzz, and he also hasn't said he's not running, which is probably more significant than he is. But he was polling like at around 2%. But guys, I'm thinking, looking at this field though, do we really, Pete Buttigieg, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Kamala Harris, maybe we should be asking for a Beshear candidacy. I mean, that's pretty bad when that happens, when you're looking at that. But a new survey suggests that Kentucky's governor, now see, this is the way you look at it. The media is going to spin this, guys, how they want, and they're going to spin it here as favorable toward him because the legacy corporate media has been very favorable to Andy Beshear. They have not held his feet to the fire at all, held him accountable for much at all, especially during COVID and what was going on there. And so they're saying, well, he remains one of the most popular governors in the United States. But look, you're governor of a small state, Kentucky, compared to California, compared to Texas, compared to New York. Yeah. So we'll see how that works out. But he does remain, according to the Morning Consult polling service, he remains the most popular, or one of the most popular governors in the United States, a 65% approval rating, third highest, I guess, in the nation. Governor Jim Justice, a former West Virginia Governor Jim Justice, was at 67%, and Vermont Governor Phil Scott at 75%. They're all liberals up there anyhow. So
listen, I think he paid somebody.
But anyhow, Beshear's disapproval rating was 27%. I don't know. They didn't call me.
I don't trust polls.
They didn't trust
him.
Yeah,
I don't trust him.
So anyhow, we'll see what happens with that. Also, this week, the Kentucky Supreme Court finally, can you say finally, did its job and scheduled a hearing for oral arguments on the charter school case. Of course, 2022, the Kentucky General Assembly passed House Bill 9, which funds public charter schools in Kentucky, a school choice option that parents in 45 other states, even the District of Columbia, even Puerto Rico, even Guam have these options of public charter schools. But guess what? Kentucky families do not have them because we have a governor and a teachers union and an establishment that wants to deny parents their educational freedom, their educational opportunities that we need to offer to kids that kids need in our state. And so anyhow, the good news is the Supreme Supreme Court is going to hear the case. And the Bluegrass Institute, the organization that I am president of, has weighed in with a amicus brief authored by former State Solicitor General Chad Meredith, who has now been nominated by President Trump to be a federal judge here in the Eastern District of Kentucky. And he's going through the nomination process. One of the greatest people that I know, one of the finest attorneys, and just a sharp young man, and very young if he gets this appointment. He's going to be there a while, and he's going to serve our country great. So let's hope that that all works out. And, of course, the progressives and libs are trying to find anything they can. He's a conservative. He's been that way. He's been pro-life. He's been pro-family, and he's been the kind. But he believes in abiding by the law, and that's just what can we ask from our judges that they abide by the law. So the good news is the Supreme Court on September 11th. It will be in Danville, and that will be at the Newland Hall at the Norton Center for the Arts. I believe that was the same place we've had some vice presidential debates in past campaigns in our country. So right there in Danville, Kentucky. Why are they doing it in Danville? Because the Capitol is now shut down for renovations for who knows how long, at least probably 3 years. We're hearing.
That's a lot.
The legislature has created an alternative chamber there that they'll be meeting in. And so we'll see how all that works out. Of course, the Supreme Court chambers in the Capitol also shut down as they remodel this. So they're going to hold hearings across the state, which I think is a great idea. It's going to give you, if you're in that area, you're going to be in that area, or you want to hear some fascinating stuff that day. And it's not going to be long. Probably won't be more than an hour with the arguments of both sides. But you can go in here and see how the Kentucky Supreme Court works. September 11th is the date. September 11th at 10 a.m. in Newland Hall at the Norton Center for the Arts. You can also watch it streamed on KET television at KET.org on their website as well. So anyhow, some important stuff to get to here in the beginning of our show today. Kentucky's Voice here with, I'm Jim Waters, but I'm glad to be joined today by Vladimir Aguilar, who you've heard on this show many times and hosting this show, and Diana Starr the same. So Diana,
Gucci Granny.
Gucci Granny, that's right. Well, she just got back from the White House. We're going to talk about that a little later. But in our first segment, we are delighted to be joined by an awesome guest. And Diana, I'm just going to let you take it away and introduce our guest and take it away from here.
Well, I have so much to say about Dr. Raj Kumar, and he's here with us, and he is the founder of United Doctors for America, a new initiative that is blowing, not through just Florida, but across the nation. I could just read you his accolades over and over and over, but really what I want to do is let Dr. Raj come on and start talking about himself and his initiatives. Hi, Dr. Raj.
Hello, Diana. Good to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure, and I thank you for taking your time. I know you're always involved in press and shows, and he does have his own practice. Besides doing all of his consulting work, empowering small businesses, Raj, the accolades, like I said, could go on and on, but I want you to kind of tell, how did you get into this? What was the purpose that said, hey, we need healthcare reform? So give us a little bit.
Thank you, Diana. You're too kind. I appreciate it. I think if I might say it this way, my greatest success in life has come from tragedy. I've had some hard roads, and that's why I feel like we have problems in healthcare. If I may speak openly, myself, I've been through rape, domestic violence, stroke, a marital affair, humiliation. I lived in Section 8 poverty housing at one point. So I got to see a different side of the world. On the left side of my little apartment, I had a gang member living next to me. On the right side of my little apartment, I had a wife beater, and police used to visit us every day. We're on first name basis. And I got to understand the world from a different standpoint as a patriot and a brown immigrant kid, which motivated me to go towards healthcare. So I went through medical school, law school, business school, started a consulting firm to this day.
Yeah.
And I've seen a lot of death and dying and a lot of hardship, so many crucibles other people carry. And as a result of that, I started paying attention. Now in my 40s, trying to make a legacy for myself, my daughter, my family, my loved ones. What's going to be important when I leave this rented dirt? All this materialistic garbage is not what it means. And we're a little arrogant as doctors in the healthcare community. And so I had to reach out to other people who are wiser, faster, stronger than myself and so many others to figure out what are the problems with healthcare. Our system is broken, not because of shortage of dollars, but a shortage of priorities. And that's how people like yourself and myself and a legion of so many other great minds have come together to create United Doctors of America.
And if
the
I
voice
might,
of the patient and the provider.
That's exactly right. And every time I speak with someone about this particular initiative, sometimes they're stunned because they're like, this could never happen. We know we need it. We've always said we needed it. And the problems are so deep and intense that sometimes you look at where to start. So when you started this initiative, Raj, I was like, wow, I have to show up there. And I did just show up there. We're going to have more to talk to you about on the second segment, if you can stay, sir, because there's more that we want to get into deeper than there we were before. But this is the thing about it. The enthusiasm that has come forth from physicians I'm talking about like directors of Columbia University Medical Center and doctors from New York, doctors from Connecticut, not necessarily Republican doctors.
Yes.
They are seeing the disparities in healthcare. So many, and the patients have lost trust. And when we come back on our second segment, we want to make sure that we talk about how you want to restore that trust, the events that you're doing, and a little bit more in depth about the problems that we are having and how we're going to solve those problems.
Dr. Raj Kumar, thank you. Diane,
Yes,
you're great. We'll
yes.
have you back here in a moment. Talk more about those disparities. What can we do about those in our country? And it's all about good policy here. So glad to have you with us. Stay with us for the second segment. Coming up on Kentucky's Voice.
Are you ready to stand for truth? Kentucky is at a crossroads, and we need voices that won't back down. This is your moment to rise, speak up, and be part of a movement that's changing the narrative in the Commonwealth. Kentucky's Voice is calling on bold citizen journalists, fearless editors, and those unafraid to speak truth in the public square. Volunteer, intern, contribute. Scan the QR code or visit kyvoice.org to join the fight. This is more than media. This is your moment. You are Kentucky's voice.
Back to Kentucky's Voice Radio, online at kyvoice.org.
Welcome back to Kentucky's Voice, radio and TV now. We're doing both. We're expanding this operation, but we need your help. We need you to support us. Need you to partner with us. And it's real easy to do. And Dan, because I don't have this in front of me, could you put that on that screen? There it is. Thank you, sir. Text KY Voice to 53555. And you can, that's just the easy as we can make it. We can't make it any easier than that.
Yeah.
So if you think it's important to have a conservative, common sense media outlet that is not ashamed, afraid, embarrassed to say we are a conservative outfit, and you're going to hear news reported, and you're going to hear opinion and analysis from a conservative, America first, liberty-oriented, freedom-oriented point of view. We're going to wave our flags here. We're going to do the right things. We're going to tell you what's going on. Now, we may not all agree on everything. That makes it life interesting, you know. But one thing I think we have to agree with, and our guest who stayed with us, and thank you, Dr. Raj Kumar, for staying with us. And you're the founder, if I got that right, of United Doctors of America. If I got that right, Diana Starr. And one of the things I know that, you know, you were talking about, and we were talking about in the last segment, was, you know, how you kind of got to this point about where you wanted to be involved in healthcare. And, you know, we need more people who want to solve problems in this area, not play politics with medicine. And this has bothered me. And I think, don't you think that's why we have a lot of the issues that we have, is because so much attention has been given to, you know, to making politically correct decisions rather than what's right for patients, what's right for consumers, what's right for Kentuckians and Americans. And I'll let Diana take it away from here. But how do we close those disparities too? How do we do that?
Yes, I agree with all of your notions, Jim. So here's what I'll say before I kind of touch on what you just said. We want to make medicine sexy again. When was the last time you knew who the Secretary of Health and Human Services was? As I like to say it, Dr. Kennedy and Dr. Trump are doing some very interesting and fabulous work. Whether you agree with all of it or not, I understand. I have to be open-minded. I'm a man of medicine. This is our time as human beings. We're patients. If you're a human being, you're part of the conversation. This is the exact platform and time for all of us to step in and make those changes. So what we've realized as doctors, we've been a little arrogant. Even during COVID, you've sort of indirectly referenced that, Jim. It was a medical issue. I want to bake a cake for my mom who's going through chemotherapy, which has just been destroying her and our family. I go to the baker and get a cake made. I want to fix my car. I go to the mechanic. You have a science medical problem. Don't put it in the hands of the business folk and the politicians. Go to the experts. And this is where we have this disparity, as you've suggested, in healthcare. So what we want to do as an organization is, one, we want to bring in people who are wiser, who are more vetted and vested in the healthcare paradigm. So even on our executive board, Diana Starr is also with us. I got to kindly meet her at the presidential inauguration in Washington, D.C., and what a gift she has been. And we have veterans and people like her and business owners and attorneys and politicians. We have a billionaire who's also even in our board, not just a group of, you know, self-centered doctors, if I can say that softly. And then number two, to help solve this disparity, not only bringing different stakeholders to the game of medicine, but number two, we're putting our people into different sectors of the world of healthcare, right? There's finance, there's telecommunications, there's rote healthcare, there's business, there's politics. Healthcare is not just a clean and simple question, answer, or solution. So these are some of the ways that we want to change the game. And education is very key. I think what Kennedy has done is allowed us to really speak openly without retribution. I served in the COVID units. 5 people in my own family died, and 2 of my colleagues. It was very near and dear to me when we wore our wonderful little astronaut suits out there in the hospitals and other settings. So now people are not so afraid to speak up. We need that transparency. We need that comfort. You know, the doctor, the nurse, the provider, and the patient have always had this sort of trust, this vulnerability, a two-way communication street. And there's a divide that has come in between that. And we need to change that game. So that trust, more than medicine, is very much needed. I tell my financial advisor, you're in the business of trust before you're in the business of money. Same thing with medicine. And secondly, aside from the education and that trust building, we need some affirmative executive plans. We are working with politicians. We've talked with MAHA, Make America Healthy Again. We have worked with people in DC American Medical Association, other big businesses, and all the way down to the layman patient, like myself, the bus driver, the teacher. We talk at schools. We have town halls with politicians. We have galas for fundraising to help support obesity and diabetes and chronic disease. Kennedy has spoken so many times about food. This thing is so important. Take a minute. The hell that my family is going through with my my mother going through chemotherapy. And I'd like to believe I'm a man of resources. I even got to speak with Eric Trump one-on-one, pleading with him, please give me the secret formula and save my mom. Right? I've gone that far, that foolish, if you will, to go and seek that kind of help. How are we going to make all of this happen for everybody?
Yeah,
you may not be a doctor, you may not be a nurse, so we need to stand for so many others who are not able to build, but we need to hear what is needed.
Right.
We're too removed sometimes.
Right.
Well, when I talk to patients, and I'm expanding the role of people that I want to talk to. Like you said, it's not just one segment of what we call our deemed medicine, right? There is legislation involved. And in that legislation, insurance and hospital systems are sequestering what the doctors can do or what the doctors can say. We don't want that. We want to be open and let you do what you do best, because we don't tell the mechanic, like you referred to earlier, we don't tell the mechanic how to fix our brakes. The mechanic knows how to fix our brakes. Yes. And it does start at a different level. And when I was in D.C. and talking to Maha, like I said, they're going to be in conjunction, start working with United Doctors of America. Incredible. It's going to be, we're starting at the soil level, because integrative medicine is so important. You can't treat diabetes and let the person go to the candy store.
Well, Dr. Kumar, that's exactly, and you bring up a good point too, and you bring up a good point about getting back to where it's the doctor and the patient.
Yes. Yes.
Let me ask you, if you don't mind, I want to jump in here with a question. It's going on here in Kentucky. One of the things we're trying to do to return some sanity to healthcare, we've got about 2.5 minutes here, is to get rid of barriers that prevent more providers from coming into the system. Does it make sense to put up barriers? Like, we have large hospitals, and I love what the hospitals serve a real purpose, but they should not be allowed to keep out, for example, a smaller team of surgeons who want to come in and maybe provide a service for a rural area or an underserved area. We call them their certificate of need, regulations here. We've begun to get rid of those. How important is it to remove those barriers, and that can bring down the cost and increase the availability of good health care? Do you agree?
2,000%, Dr. Jim, you hit the nail on the head. We do have all of these barriers. Some of them are planned.
You're the doctor,
some of them have become a byproduct of our system. We spend more than $4 trillion a year in our healthcare system. We have poor outcomes. If you break down the numbers, an employer spends about $14,000 a year on each patient's care. We're supposedly the best of the best around the globe, yet we can't get this right. These barriers are only building. So we've got to bang on our legislators' doors. We've got to bang on even our community halls at the local level. We've also got to talk to our hospital system. So these monopolies sometimes stop what you're talking about, Jim. I know Kentucky well. I've been out there, Paducah, Lexington. I've been on bourbon trails, clay shooting. I love the place. And the Midwest has this challenge in some of the rural markets. And that is a problem. You are very right about that.
Yeah,
that needs
I want
to be worked on.
Well, thank you for that. Go ahead. We got about 20 seconds there.
Go ahead. 20
yeah.
seconds. I just want to say briefly, remember, we'd love to have you back on again. We did our first gala. We now have so many senators involved. We're going to have a gala November the 4th where we're concentrating on the veterans. Yeah. And it's going to be exciting. Yeah. And Dr. Raj, love you. Thank you for putting me on the board. I appreciate everything you've done.
Dr. Kumar, thank you. I wish we had more time. We'll have you back if you'll come back and be with us, Dr. Raj Kumar.
I'm going to do one more thing.
Go ahead, 10 seconds.
My cell phone number, 305-989-0001.
Thank you, Dr. Kumar. Stay tuned. Coming up on Kentucky's Voice is Michael Ferris, who's a candidate for the U.S. Senate seat.
back to Kentucky's Voice Radio online at kyvoice.org.
Well, thanks for staying with us here on Kentucky's Voice. We're here every weekday, 11 to noon. Hope you'll make this part of your day. This is a Friday. I used to say, thank Gary Clark it's Friday, because Gary's one of the producers on the radio side, but I don't see him much anymore, but we'll still thank Gary, TGIF. Thank Gary, it's Friday. Thank somebody, it's Friday today. But we'd love to hear from you on our Kentucky's Voice text line, 502-571-0970. I'm joined here in the studio by my co-host today, Diana Starr and Vladimir Aguilar. And this off our text line, and this is really funny because I've got to tell what happened to me yesterday real quick, but this is off the text line. In Louisville, as an Uber customer, I've seen firsthand that Uber drivers do not speak English, therefore cannot read road signs or understand the rules of the road. Wow. I felt very unsafe with several rides in the last year. I used to ride with American drivers, but now I rarely get an American or English-speaking driver. How can we change this? So yesterday, I just got to tell you, I thought about you, Lambert, because yesterday I got an Uber. I had to get an Uber, and it was a Cuban. Yep. All he knew to say was, "I'm from Cuba," and "have a nice day." Otherwise, he was driving pretty interestingly up Bardstown Road and through the Highlands, and I put my seatbelt on.
I get those complaints all the time because I'm a Uber driver too. Yeah. And
but you speak pretty good English.
Yeah. So. When they people jump in the car, they like so glad, like, oh my goodness, you speak English. I'm like, so I've been talking to some of my friends that I know that they drive for Uber. Like, I'm trying to encourage them, like, hey guys, we need to.
I got this.
If you want to provide a good service and if you want to get a tip,
right? I think Victor, who was my driver yesterday. He was a great guy. Yeah, out working hard. He had all kinds of screens in the car. He had a little tablet set up behind the seat so I could watch stuff while we were driving.
Okay,
he had it going on, man. He had it going on. But anyhow, I enjoyed that. That was a good text. 502-571-0970. This on the License Bureau issue. The License Bureau did not do this without higher ups approving, in my opinion. That's the story about the under the table payments by illegal immigrants to get driver's licenses in Kentucky. And I'll tell you, sometimes I think about if people would work as hard doing legal things, like getting their citizenship, doing things the right way, they could be very successful in this country. That's the way it's set up.
That's a whole nother
show. But when you do something illegal, I was
talking to State Rep T.J. Roberts about that yesterday, and he's on fire on that. So he's trying to find out about
this. Also off our text line, 502-571-0970. When these juvenile criminals are exposed by name, their parents may take responsibility. As a taxpayer, I would appreciate knowing who these criminals are, where they live. You may have a criminal playing with your kids. Our system coddles criminal kids. And we've seen increasing issues, Vladimir Aguilar, with
Actually, I was talking about that also yesterday's show. And I said, parenting is the main issue here, so they need to be held accountable.
So we want to, that's right, we want to hear from you. If you do adult things, right, if you commit adult type crimes, then you should
like the doctor said before, education is the key.
Yeah, it is. That's right. Yeah, and by the way, it's not a coincidence that we have a poor education system in the public system in Kentucky.
JCPS.
Only 1 out of 3 of our kids can read proficiently. 1 out of 3 can do math proficiently. For minorities or low-income students, it's down in the teens in percentages. And so this is not a coincidence.
Even in the Hispanic community, because I can tell this as a fact, my son got here and he went to the Newcomer Academy where they're supposed to, at least get the first elemental English. Well, they just sent him to another school without knowing nothing about English. I say, this is bad. Yeah. We don't supposed to do this way.
Well, if we don't educate our kids, they're going to end up on the street corner, in prison, or worse.
Yeah.
It's time for Kentucky's education system. Give parents freedom. Give parents a choice to choose the education that 100%. Works best for their children. Public, private, who cares? This is about our kids. This is about their future. Yep. And we should be able to, parents should have that option like most parents in most other states in America have. We have got to fix this problem.
And guess what? Like the free market works. Once we got an education choice, everyone has to be going up on their levels. If you want your kid coming to that school, raise up your level and, you can have a competition.
Rising tide lifts all boats.
Yes.
Well, it's big news now in one state where they're holding parents responsible. I don't know if I agree about that all across the board, but certainly
Across the board, there should be parents should. What I mean by that is we should default. Our default position here should be parents know best. Certainly
correct.
better than the educrats
right.
and the bureaucrats who run this
Yep.
failing public education system, which, by the way, in Jefferson County has a budget twice as big as the Louisville Metro Council. They have a budget twice as big, $2 billion budget, twice as big as the Metro Council budget.
Amazing.
And that Metro Council budget fixes your roads, provides the water and the sewage, and picks up your garbage and all these issues, provides law enforcement, public safety, all of these issues, and yet we have a school system with a budget twice as big, and they can only educate a third of our students.
But guess
even
what?
At a decent level.
They get a sign on the highway for Dr. Polio. So, I mean, they're spending their money,
Well, yeah, absolutely. They spend a lot of money on his salary, too. And I don't know many industries in America where if the CEO had a 33% success rate, that he would still be the CEO getting large raises and golden parachutes and attaboy. No, these are our kids. Sorry, not going to happen here. You're not going to get that here. You're going to get, why aren't we doing better? Why are we failing our kids? And what are you going to do about it? I don't want to hear about your social programs. I don't want to hear about your woke leftist curriculum. I don't want to hear about it.
We want
I want to know,
results.
can our kids read when they graduate? Will they be prepared to be successful in America? We can have all the opportunity you want, but if we don't have an educated workforce, what good does it do?
And that's what
does it do?
happens when the state rules your life.
That's right.
That's
And you
right.
know what?
We've seen it in
What
other
my-
countries. Okay, we got to jump on here for our next guest. Sorry,
Speaking of a state,
but
I know,
speaking of the
ruling.
state, Michael Ferris joins us, Republican candidate for U.S. Senate. Senator Mitch McConnell has announced he's not running for re-election. Finally, after all this
Thanks,
time,
God.
Finally, this will be the first time since the 1980s that this seat has been open. So this is a big deal in Kentucky. And Vladimir Aguilar is here to talk with Michael Ferris, who's running. And take it away, Vladimir. And we've got 5 minutes in this segment, guys. We'll keep Michael over for the fourth segment a little bit if we need to. Go ahead.
Hey, good morning, Michael. How you doing, buddy?
Morning, Vlad. Good yourself?
Pretty good. So, well, everyone knows here about your race because I told them, like, you are we the people candidate, So just give us, like, a little, quick trip to your candidacy and your career, what you're running for and what are you trying to accomplish.
Yeah, very good. Thank you to Jim and Diane as well, and you, Vlad, and the producers there for helping get this show along.
Glad to have you.
Yeah, we're glad to see you.
Go ahead.
Yeah, glad to have you, Michael. Go ahead, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, I like to tell everybody, a little bit about the beginning of my life. Started in Gordon, Indiana, 2.5 months old, thrown into foster care. Ended up with a great family in Sonora, Kentucky. There I'm about 3 years old. The biological mother comes back. The state, for some reason, allows her to take me back. And then, of course, I lived through about 10 years of hell. Luckily, I was able to find a path. And I believe, this was provided by God to legally go back to that foster mother and father in Sonora. And then from that age of 12 until 18, graduating high school, we raised tobacco and hay on a farm out there in Sonora, Kentucky. Joined the Air Force at 18, did one term of service, decided that my skills were more lucrative on the civilian side, and kind of entered back into this helicopter maintenance business then in about 2007-8 era. I've been following these helicopters around the globe for about 16 years. I've been in aviation for 20, with a small 4-year segment in Louisville, running overnight maintenance there for a company called Republic Airways. I now own my own company. It's called Prime Hawks. We, basically either can acquire, consult, tear down, inspect, modify, demodify all of these old military aircraft and use them in the wildland fire and utility construction setting all across the globe. Actually, we have customers in Australia, Canada. Looks like we might be moving into Portugal and Chile here soon. Hopefully tapping into some European markets, and we'll see how that goes. But ultimately, what I do for work requires me to travel a lot. And so, during COVID, I was kind of
that's something that I want to jump in because I hear that you were saying like you are using your own money, the money from your own business to run this campaign. So let's talk a little bit more about that.
Okay. Yeah. So basically, I'm going to self-fund it. Obviously, I'm the president and founder of this company. So, my salary is set, at a decent rate to where I can provide my family and still kind of come here and dabble with this campaign stuff, buy all the stuff that's needed to get in front of the viewers' eyes, the voters' eyes. And what I want to stay away from is those attack ads, and, focus on the people, because that's what this seat should be about, is the duty inside, basically, governing by the consent of the governed. This has nothing to do with attacking your opponent. You should be speaking factually, obviously, on their policies, kind of how they handle their own business practices, because that lets you peer into the character of that man or woman who's coming to basically advocate for things on your behalf. So just as, I tell everybody else, you look for a leader when you hire a politician. But the thing is, these people are not your leaders. These people are there to represent you. You want a leader that knows how to stand in front of its team and advocate for them. That's the important part about the seat. Not attacking people and trying to make it look like you're better than somebody else. You're trying to get a job to show, hey, I can do this for you because I can execute and get things done.
And that's exactly what I like, because in that way, when you get to Washington, and I hope you get to Washington, I'm voting for you 100%. I feel you know that already. In that way, when you get to Washington, there's no any compromises with any politicians.
And that's the thing, like I said, everybody else, integrity is doing the right thing when nobody's watching. Quality through integrity is Prime Hawk's motto. And there's a reason for that, because if you're doing things the right way, there's no need to worry about, doing something wrong. Because if you're following the black and white, like I do in my industry, there's a black and white in the Constitution. There's a black and white in the policies that we write and create for our constituents. And listen, if it doesn't work, we got to be able to go in, tap into that, repair that issue case by case, and just advocate for the people that are having the problems. It's like I said, by the consent of the governed. That's how this thing's supposed to work.
But also to going through all of that, you need the grit, and I feel that you have that grit. So in the next segment, we're gonna be talking about a little bit about your fight, because I know you are a fighter, a hard one. So you're gonna tell us about why you went through all the due to the COVID pandemic and all of that, and all the lawsuits you got against the state. So stay with us. Remember, this is Kentucky's Voice. We'll be back in about 5 seconds.
Kentucky's Voice is your home for real news, real people, and real answers. But we can't do it without you. Your financial support helps us bring truth to the forefront, hold leaders accountable, and give a voice to the people of the Commonwealth. Join the fight today. Give online at kyvoice.org or text KYVoice to 53555. Every gift makes a difference. Stand with us. Speak up.
Well, let me.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah, go back to Jim.
Now, back to Kentucky's Voice Radio, online at kyvoice.org.
Thanks for staying with us here. Our final segment of the day on Kentucky's Voice, our longest one too, which I like. We can wrap things up here today, and we're glad to have you with us today. I'm joined in the studio here by my co-host Diana Starr and Vladimir Aguilar, and great to be with you guys today. If you have comments, questions, complaints, all the above, 502-571-0970. You can even compliment us if you'd like. We'll definitely read those on the air.
Yes.
Kentucky's Voice text line, 502-571-0970. And I want you to support this program. You know, if everybody watching this program today would start doing that, it's amazing what we could do in terms of expanding this. So do it right now. Text KY Voice to 53555. If you want to hear more conservative programming, we'd love to expand this show to 2 hours. But it takes resources. It takes folks here, and it is too short. But we're going to leave you wanting more today. I promise you that. You're not going to be bored today. We haven't been bored at all. But welcome back and to Michael Ferris, who's running for the U.S. Senate seat on the Republican side. Of course, Senator Mitch McConnell has announced he's not running for re-election. And so it's up for grabs, as they say, and it's a busy Republican primary. But, Michael, I'm going to take host prerogative here and ask you the first question of this segment, then I'll turn it back over here to Vladimir Aguilar. But, you know, it's refreshing to hear your story, and it's refreshing to have folks in this campaign who are willing. You know, this is a sacrifice. This is something you don't have to do. You're doing fine in your business. You're taking care of your family, but you care enough about this country to step up and to invest some of your personal fortune, time, talent, and treasure in this race. And I commend you for that. But how important is it that we have some folks in Washington who are not coming from the political class or from the, and no offense to lawyers here, but somebody, like you said, who understands black and white. This is the way it is. Yes and no. What you say you mean, what you don't say you don't mean, or whatever. But how do you look at that? How important is it to have some folks in the mix like that?
Well, listen, if you read the last paragraph of the Constitution, it obviously speaks very highly of the fact that they're pledging their sacred honor and, you know, their finances and everything they own to make sure that this thing goes off without fail. And so it's very important to have new blood in there. That's why we got to have those term limits that we're all advocating for, and get these people washed out of here as quick as possible, just like the presidency and the president of the states being the governor. That's a very important issue.
Yeah. Well, you know, we've heard a lot of politicians, though, talk about term limits, and then they get to Washington or they get to Frankfurt, and they seem to forget about this, you know. And I think how important, I guess we're looking here at a senator retiring after 4 decades, pretty much. How important is it, Vladimir Aguilar and Michael Ferris, how important is it, Michael, that we have term limits here on these Senate seats? How important is that to you?
For me, it's obviously very important. I mean, I think, honestly, look, this guy that holds this seat right now has been in it for 40 years. That's almost as old as I am. And look, he never came and helped me or batted for my issues or advocated for, you know, what I had going on. Granted, you know, his younger years, I was in probably some of the worst cases of my life. Now I'm doing well because I've overcome a lot of tragedy, different abuses through, you know, what was going on with the biological side of everything with the family and all. But listen, these folks didn't help me. It took, you know, people who were just out of the kindness of their heart, willing to go grab up, you know, a child out of the middle of danger and kind of, you know, lead them to God, show them what hard work looked like, show them what running a business did look like, how to do that successful. And, you know, as we always say, that's why it's important to have someone who, you know, has been a leader in these positions, because they're willing to understand what it looks like to stand up for someone who's got trouble with a system and, you know, basically get that change to benefit those people under that, you know, rule of thumb.
Okay. So speaking about career politicians, what role you think McConnell going to play in this election? In this campaign?
Listen, I've heard good things and bad things about this fella. You know, in the beginning of his career, I think he did a lot of good advocacy for certain groups of individuals. But now, listen, he knows where the purse is now. He knows where all the dark money is. So, of course, he's going to reach out and grab that. And then, as we've seen just recently in the news, he's using that purse to help out 2 of these opponents, trash another of the big 3. So, listen, scandals abound through this whole thing, and it's because they know how to play this game. Ignorance is bliss in this race. You need someone who doesn't know where all that's at so they can focus on the issues that you're worried about in the state of Kentucky and being that conduit between the federal government and the state government and putting up the walls and barriers that are required, to defend you from that bureaucratic overreach and start using your tax money that's been collected on everything you've done by the time you bought it, sold it, owned it, used it, whatever the case may be, gave it away. There's a tax on everything. It's ridiculous. We got to stop that and, give the power back to the people on that front, get some, tax cuts going on. And in my opinion, even in the state, we got to get rid of those property taxes, maybe switch to a consumer tax. Now, honestly, I can't do anything about that in this seat other than advocate for it and help state legislators maybe find the conduit to do it. But yeah, we've got to quit robbing our people blind and then giving it to other countries across the globe when we have our own issues right here in the state that we can fix.
And I know as a fact that you went through a lot of issues like that in the past, especially back in 2020, and you were fighting with the TSA and some of those system agencies. Can you tell us a little bit more about those lawsuits like you went through and the fight that you were giving to them?
Yeah, listen, when this whole thing started, like I said, as a child, I had some issues, growing up, a lot of childhood trauma. And so I can't be wearing a mask all the time. They call it generalized anxiety. I didn't even know I had this thing until they started saying you must wear this mask. But the thing is, I can't breathe. It pulls on my ears. I get headaches. I get dizzy. Fainted twice on airlines time that I bought tickets on. And I just need a service to get to work. But they're trying to choke me out saying, your disability doesn't qualify. So I give them medical exemptions that come from triple board certified neurologists out of New Jersey. That doesn't work. They want negative COVID tests. I give them that. Then they turn around and give, after the whole runaround, say, well, your disability doesn't qualify. And it absolutely does. They're governed by the ACAA, which is the Air Carrier Access Act, and the TSA is governed by the ADA, which is the Americans with Disabilities Act. And so, listen, I sued the TSA because I thought that was going to be the way out. They're the ones that created the security directive through the long arm of the Patriot Act, which gives them the power to just create stuff out of thin air. It's ridiculous. So I sued them first. Unfortunately, there was another guy in D.C., 3-panel liberal judgeship down there, shot him down because he didn't have a good argument. So that ruined everybody's case in the TSA battle. So then I went on to sue the CDC and 5 major airlines, basically hit them with 37 claims of constitutional and state law violation tort claims. 2 of them stuck. Right now, that case is in the Western District of Kentucky, just passed a motion to dismiss. All these cases have been done without counsel, what they call pro se. So we're winning. And listen, that's the power of one individual doing the right thing. And like I said, that integrity is doing that right thing when no one is watching. And listen, I don't know, I'm not a member of a bar of any kind. I don't study law, but when you push a man to figure out what's going on, I'm a guy who does that. I execute things. I'm a mover and a groover. So, if you put me up against the wall, I'm going to win. I'm going to prove you wrong.
And that's why I say all the time, like you are the we the people candidate. So that's why you got my vote. Hey, I have a last question here for you before we wrap, because you're speaking about those mandates and those things, and reminds me Cuba with those communist policy and all of that. Kentucky, as I told you before, Kentucky is the one of the largest Cuban population. Why the Cuban community in Kentucky need to vote for you?
Short answer, okay?
Why is your position against the Cuban regime once you get to Washington?
Well, very quickly, I think there's a reason why you're here, and it's because you didn't want to be under the rule of Castro and his Fidel and his brother Raul and his successor. So, and listen, all of his buddies are in D.C. right now, basically throwing that same dark money back to him, advocating for stuff on their behalf. We got to sanction these people who are basically running communist regimes. So we have the leverage to do it in the federal government to stop all this. You've got to come here for the American dream for a reason. So you need to be able to enjoy that without the influence of those folks back and forth over your federal government. Welcome to America. Blend in. Do the right thing. Let's do the same thing on the same train, and let's change all that.
There we go.
Michael Ferris, where can people find out more about you?
Yeah.
So you can go to ferrispercentage.com. That's one single R, F-A-R-I-S, ferrispercentage.com. There's a tab there for media. You can donate if you like. We're not running on that, but listen, I know some people like to do that.
Yeah.
To help
Thank you,
the
sir.
winning team.
Yeah.
So ferrisforsenate.com, social links, media, everything is there.
One other question you don't have to answer. Which of those helicopters are you going to give me a ride in?
I was going to ask the same
Well, hey, Michael,
thing.
thank you so much for being with us today. And Vladimir, thanks. Great job. And
Thank you, Michael.
we'll have you back on to talk more about this throughout this campaign. So thank you. Have a great weekend. And we're just going to wrap up this show here today in the studio. Thanks, Michael. We're going to wrap up this show here in the studio today. Diana Starr is one of our great co-hosts here, has been in Washington, D.C. We've got just a couple of minutes here, but tell us about your trip.
Oh, my gosh. Well, what started as this not so simplistic.
And you went to the White House.
I went to the White House.
So tell us why. What was going on?
I did not say that anywhere socially, just my few friends know that suddenly we went there for a Heritage Foundation, considering health care, how to start to getting healthier from the soil up. So as we did that, what happened was that I got an invitation, email, and that was from one of the contacts that we met at a restaurant, became a friend, said, hey, why don't you send an email to this person? Next morning, woke up, said, hey, can you come to the White House at 3 o'clock the next day? Now, I'm screaming like a schoolgirl, and I'm saying, I'm from Kentucky. I've got a lot to tell you. And it was all tied back to health and initiative, United Doctors of America, MAHA, which I was getting involved with, the Heritage Foundation, which is farmers and how to grow better food and what we can do, Victory Alliance, gardens.
So this was an event about that. I mean,
Heritage was about returning the soil to be healthy again.
At the White House. That's great.
At the White House.
And didn't Dr. Raj ask a great question today? When's the last time you knew who the health secretary in America was?
Oh, my gosh.
That's a great question. I mean, everybody knows it's RFK Jr. now.
It was, well, listen.
It was your first time?
That was my first time inside like that, like the internal White House, which, by the way, is incredibly.
I know. I've been there a couple of times. It's great.
Yes.
Yeah.
He lets me know.
You felt the vibes,
But for me,
hey, it's great to have you guys on with us today. We're having a good time on here making this work, I think.
Yeah,
and
we do.
Most of all, we're glad to have you with us, and we hope you'll support this program. You say, well, how can I do that? Two ways. One is you can let us know what you're thinking about this. By the way, off our Kentucky's Voice text line at 502-571-0970. Do y'all? That's how they said this. Do y'all? Vladimir, I know you're from Cuba, but that's a Kentucky thing.
Yeah, I know.
Do y'all support the Convention of States, i.e. Article 5 states' rights? That's way more than we have time for right now. The short answer is no, because we don't want the liberals to hijack the process, open up a can of worms, and take away more of our freedoms. But we can have a conversation.